Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I promise you, I will not do another Hertz story until they actually do something different. Because now, all the stuff we've talked about Hertz, the long list of things they've made the news for, it's gotten to the point where what could they do next to actually top what they've done before? What else could Hertz do to get into the news? So I will not do another Hertz story until one comes along with a fantastic twist that no one expected. So Ron sent me a note and said, Steve, check out this story from WPXI. Local man pleads guilty for stealing cars from Pittsburgh International Airport rental lot. Guess whose lot it was? And yeah, it turns out that, as many people suggested, some of the thefts Hertz has been suffering in the past were inside jobs, which makes the story even crazier. Talia Kirkland wrote this. Passengers at Pittsburgh International Airport trying to rent a car were puzzled and frustrated after learning that a Hertz contract employee admitted he'd been stealing from the airport lot one car at a time. Someone should write a song about that. Like they just vanished, or how do you not keep track of 24 cars? A passenger at the airport asked. 24 cars, they say. It's hard to get a rental car, and even when people make reservations, there are no rental cars available, said another Hertz customer. According to federal officials, a 31-year-old man who worked at the Hertz airport location in 2021 from May until October stole 24 cars right off the lot. 24 cars. He then sold at least 3 of the stolen cars in Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware. And he exchanged some for money, but also exchanged some for more stolen cars. Got a stolen car, what can you give me? How about a stolen car? Seems about fair. Like you would think there's a GPS or a tracker or some sort of ID on the car in order to track that car going from state to state, said another customer spoken to by the TV station. TV station reached out to Hertz to see if they could provide any insight on how this employee got away with stealing so many cars, but the company wouldn't comment. Employees from other rental companies who didn't want to go on camera said this is not a new scheme. One of the customers they talked to said, I wonder about the other employees and how that reflects on them. So the man pleaded guilty, now faces up to 5 years in prison, and could have to pay up to $250,000 in fines. If you're a business and you're running a business, you need to keep track of your inventory, said one of the people the TV station spoke to. According to court documents, the man will be sentenced in May. He'll be sentenced in May. So 24 cars stolen from Hertz by a Hertz employee who's pled guilty to it. And now, what's interesting is I've done a bunch of stories about cars that were reported stolen by Hertz. And then I did one very, very recently about a woman who bought a car, and Hertz came along and said, that's our car, and they just snagged it. And as many people would notice, that's kind of like the reverse of someone stealing a car from Hertz. However, here, it's an inside job. And underneath the videos I've done about Hertz and cars being reported stolen, I've had so many people, and I want to salute all of you, by the way. I've had so many people comment and go, how many of these are inside jobs? How much you want to bet that these are inside jobs? Because obviously, if I rent a car and don't return it, well, then, of course, you call the police, file the police report, stolen car, blah, blah, blah. And also, you send out a monstrous bill to somebody. Say, yeah, you've had this car for 9 months or whatever. But here's a situation where somehow 24 cars just kind of evaporated off this lot. And now, I've rented cars before. I've never rented from Hertz. I never have. I've rented from Enterprise quite a few times, and then a few oddball ones along the way just based on availability at airports I was going to and so on. But I've never rented from Hertz. But having said that, I've never seen a rental place that was a one-person operation. There's always been a couple people there. And you'd think that somewhere along the line, when you've got things that are that valuable coming and going, you should be able to, at some point in time, take a snapshot, figuratively speaking, and say, okay, how many cars have we got? How many are out on loan? and how many are sitting here in an inventory ready to go. And you'd think that if 24 of them disappeared, you'd notice. Now you're going to say, Steve, they did notice. They did. The guy got arrested and charged and pleaded guilty. Yes, but somehow, doing it one car at a time, he got 24 cars to disappear. And so that does lead us to the obvious question, were any of the people who were busted with cars that were allegedly stolen from Hertz, were any of them these? Or are those cars still out there? Because those wouldn't have been listed as rentals. So that's strange. But it does make you wonder what kind of inventory system Hertz was running. Now, this did happen over a year ago, so they may have cleaned up their act since then. But again, it's interesting that how many people in my audience had that instinctive suggestion in their head, inside job. And so at least in this case, 24 cars did disappear from Hertz's inventory, and it was an inside job. And it's kind of funny because I was thinking about this after I printed the story off about the situations I've known about personally that were inside jobs. And it's kind of funny because it reminded me of a story, and I don't think I've ever told this story before. But I worked at a gas station when I was in high school, and I pumped gas and drove a tow truck. And I had friends who worked at another gas station not far away. And their owners had brought in a truckload of soda. I think it was Mountain Dew, but it may have been like Coke, Pepsi, some soft drink. And they'd piled up in the middle of their lobby this mountain of pop. And I think it was 6-packs just stacked on pallets, and then another pallet on top of that, another pallet on top of that, and it was just a mountain of pallets all the way to the top, okay? And later, I was talking to one of my friends, and he said, yeah, we were sitting there looking at that pallet, and the owner of the station said, until that pallet's gone, I'm going to be riding you guys to sell that stuff because we're trying to do a special here and move blah, 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 blah. The whole thing about how you got to sell that whole pallet of stuff. And somebody figured out that you could move some of the lower levels of soda out of the way, kind of like that game where you stack up the blocks on top of each other and you remove a thing in the middle. And they could remove some of the 6-packs from the middle and reach inside and pull some more out and then put the outside ones back in. And so the mountain of soda disappeared a lot faster than it was sold. Now, I'm not saying that that's right that they did that, and I don't even remember how many cases that vanished that way, but I can tell you that there's always an issue. If you give people an opportunity to take something, quite often they will. And so I would suspect that if there's anybody in the audience who actually works at Hertz or is in the industry, I suspect that somebody's going to go, yeah, there's a reason that you hear about this with Hertz, but not with Enterprise. And it's because they were doing this with their inventory. I don't know what it is, but it was the equivalent of the mountain of soda, at least in my mind. So the number of people who said, yeah, Steve, I bet it's an inside job. It was interesting that there turned out to have been an actual inside job, and it was Hertz. And so I'm telling you, when I saw the email from Ron, he goes, Steve, check out the rental car story. And I saw the headline, local man pleads guilty to stealing cars from Pittsburgh International Airport rental lot. All I kept thinking was, please let it be Hertz, please let it be Hertz, please let it be Hertz. Passengers at Pittsburgh International Airport trying to rent a car were puzzled and frustrated after learning that a Hertz contract employee admitted he'd been stealing from the airport lot one car at a time. So it's possible that if you flew into Pittsburgh and you went to Hertz and they go, strangest thing, we had a car set aside for you. It was right there. Now it's gone. Very well could be that was the car that is in the story here, along with 23 of its friends. So 24 cars stolen from a Hertz lot, one lot in Pittsburgh. And the guy who's behind it, the mastermind, has pleaded guilty and faces now 5 years in prison. So I am now, in my mind, thinking to myself, what could Hertz do to top this? And I don't think that this can be beaten. But I've said that before. So we'll see. So Talia Kirkland wrote that for WPXI. Questions, comments, put them below those. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. The main danger in life is that you may take too many precautions.